Okay. So let's start that timer. Right. Well, seeing as COVID-19, the coronavirus is the main topic of urgency and importance worldwide at the moment, I have decided to share 7 concepts of relevance that I've been thinking about for several years, well, at different stages, regarding aura of intelligence and artificial intelligence, extended intelligence, global whole system change. I personally was aiming towards 2025 for global whole system change, but now, because of COVID-19, perhaps now is the time that we should be looking at global whole system change. So I've got here 7 concepts of relevance. So social proximity, settings for digital aura smartphone applications, smart city capsule hotels as innovation hubs and wellbeing centres, unlocking research from behind paywalls and integrating that with the digital auras that help us with our social proximity settings and collaboration, as I'll speak to a bit later. Automation of car cleaning and disinfecting, and then transition towards autonomous fleets. So then we can constantly have all of the vehicles in the fleet being cleaned. That will create a break wall if there is ever another pandemic. Compare coronavirus pandemic to celestial Earth-Sun catastrophes. Now, I think that's wise to do, because even though coronavirus, which is named after the sun, because it looks like the sun, and even though it's massive and it's changing the way that we look at things, everyone on the planet, it's forcing us to stay home, it's not the biggest catastrophe that is ahead of us. And there's a celestial cycle, a galactic or local universe, and an Earth-Sun connection that is cyclical, and we should be using this time that we've all got at home to be considering how we address these mega catastrophes that could actually wipe out the whole species. And why not end poverty? Let's end it. 5 years, let's do it, or less. Let's completely reorganize society. Let's triple or quadruple the size of human civilization. Not with number of people, but let's go underground. Let's re-engineer our surface cities to be clean, and to actually clean the environment and return it to a more stable balance, and then also go into space. We've got all the technologies now emerging and all the research is basically available. We just need to make that research available to everyone and see where everyone's thinking and coordinate that a little better than we ever have before, using virtual reality headsets and augmented reality headsets, projectors. We can get really good at civilization if we get through this coronavirus and we upgrade with all of these 7 concepts in mind. Plus there's more. I'm sure you guys can come up with some more as well. This is just so social proximity settings and digital auras. Now, this is the logo here I've got for the Global Association for Joyful Responsible Abundance. The Aura of Intelligence logo is something similar. It uses this logo here. That's kind of like the sun, your intelligence of all your social media and the world of information, and using it for good and for love. And we've got all these colors of the chakra system, the aura system. Now, if we take the concept of social proximity, social distancing, and we start to set where these layers are and what those layers mean, whether it's intimate space, casual space, social space, and then we can set a proximity setting for like pandemics. And when there's a pandemic, we have our smartphone in our breast pocket, or using Bluetooth and Wi-Fi settings to ping nearby devices so that we know where we are in relative space to our surroundings in our environment. Then we're going to be safer. We're going to be able to actually encode a lot of information into these layers, into our personal space. And once we start to do some of these mind-body VR, AR, like virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, extended reality, these terms, once we start to harvest our intelligence from our social media and from where all of the research papers are and our physical interactions, our learning systems, we put them all into our personal space, like the Aura of Intelligence application that I will show you a bit more later. We'll be able to go in proximity to people, and then this algorithm will ping nearby, and if they have an aura, your higher mind that you've created to match your imagination, then they'll be able to interact in a high definition manner that we can then create virtual simulations and share around the world like ripples through the ether, where in fact being able to connect into the fabric of reality and send complex thought and imaginings at the speed of light and electricity. So it's going to change everything. Now, smart city capsule hotels for innovation and well-being. This is a picture of an existing capsule hotel. This is a simulation I got off, is it Alamy or something, one of those. But the concept is to pack everyone in to these, cycle everyone through these capsule hotels, set them up with VR and AR and graphics processors and blockchain computer racks, server racks, and then start to do clean city simulations. So as people go through these, let's separate it from coronavirus. Say there's no pandemic. You cycle through these, you go in, you start to contribute to a city map. You can connect to other hotels around the world and help them with their city maps, share your awareness and learnings and hypotheses and suppositions with other people around the world. And these simulations will then be generated really, really quickly, and everyone will get a chance to use the VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, and machine learning, extended intelligences, so that we can, how I was saying about doubling and tripling and quadrupling the size of our civilization, well, we can build these simulations really quickly and get more bang for the buck. But then with well-being, if there is a pandemic, these are going to be much easier to clean than hospitals. If everyone's just in a box with a simulating headset and that you can have your breathing apparatus or whatever in there, then you've only got to fumigate and clean a little box instead of having to do a whole room and not having people sitting in the hallways. It makes much more sense for each city to have 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how many people in each city, have a capsule hotel that you just cycle through. Say, I came up with this concept in India in last year, 2019. I spent 6 months there. The year before, I spent about 10 months, thereabouts. and I was working on the concept called, for a television or web series called 101 Smart Cities of India. Now the concept was because Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister there, has in 2015 I believe set up the Smart Cities mission. There's now over 100 smart city corporations that are designing cities. Now if we could build a few capsule hotels in each of those nearby regions, then we can start simulations with the local population going through their cities, building their cities in their own cultural makeup, translating that into all of the dialects of India, so everyone in India can collaborate on everyone else's ideas. You can share but keep the cultures unique. And then also, any of the money coming from overseas and all of the information coming from overseas can then be interpreted and actualized in these simulations while by the locals, so that it's not like invasion, it's like this merger of minds, so that the local culture still flourishes, but it's got access to all of the high intelligence from wherever they would like it to come from. Like when I was in India, I noticed there's loads and loads of Indians that want to go to Canada, US, Australia, and the UK. It was increasingly Russia as well, but they were all trying to get to the ex-colonies of the British Empire, and if we use this concept, if we get lots of universities in all these different cities to start building these hives of information, and then have a local blockchain that comes out of each, or similar concept for data security and data verification, have it sandboxed for the local city, local region, then we'll have a record on who thought what first. We'll be able to reward people with the cryptocurrency from within, and then those ideas, if they're adopted overseas as well, people will get a reward system or invitations to travel. Like if we ever do go to a non-monetary system where, well, travel is going to be a very good reward, increasing your quality of your residence will be a reward. Like we don't really need money now that we've got the internet. Well, we're in a transition stage, so if we hypothesize a little way down the track, I can clearly get to a point where money's not necessary because we have so much intelligence, connectivity, and simulations available that it would be much more efficient to get this massive scale change without using economics as we know it, like capitalism. It's very interesting to think about, and I was aiming for July 2025 as a point where we had the first world votes, because all the satellite networks will be up, but because of coronavirus we might be able to actually attempt to do global votes now while everyone's in self-isolation, and we should be thinking about the values, the virtues, the needs, the preferences of experiences, and how to create that in a series of hieroglyphs or pictograms so that it transcends language, because we've got to overcome this bottleneck of diverse and separate languages, and pictures is the way to go. Pictures, colours. Number 3, we really need to release the research papers from behind paywalls. I've occasionally used Sci-Hub. I'm a bit of a data pirate. Anyway, I won't go into that, but if we can release these research papers from behind paywalls, and if we can connect where the thought leaders are around the world in actual real time, with geo positioning on the Earth, and then in time series data with where the Earth's position is in the solar system, we'll be able to start visualizing through colors and loops and trajectories where all the thought leaders are, and yeah, there'll be an awakening, like a new renaissance where the sharing will be so much faster. We'll be edging towards the idea of a hive mind that we can essentially pull on and pull off like a coat, or like glasses, like our clothing. When we're putting on our special clothing to become part of the hive mind knowingly and opt in, then solutions will have never come faster than ever before. Like, it'll be faster than ever before if we go this way. But I honestly think that we should stop before we merge completely with machines. We should have the singularity before merging with machines. And yeah, just stay on that level there for quite some time, and just kind of evolve with extended intelligence as something that we love and we wear and we cherish, but not completely merging with it. There might be some argument for disability recovery, but if you're a healthy human, I don't see that we should be jumping straight into that, even though it's increasingly possible. Okay, we definitely need to automate car cleaning and disinfection. I suggested this in a couple of the feeds for code QODE 2020. That was on Monday and Tuesday. Was supposed to be at Brisbane Convention and Entertainment Centre, then went virtual, so there was hundreds of us, if not thousands, watching live stream on YouTube. I was talking about automating the car disinfecting in such a way that we can generate data for speeding up the transition to automated fleet services. So we need to essentially, like, there's already been calls today or yesterday in the hospitals around Brisbane and elsewhere in the world that daily after shift the health professionals need their cars disinfected. They're doing it themselves. They had been doing it themselves, but we need to find a way that we can automate this with car washes. And then if we can, we've got to look at it as coronavirus continues to expand until we get over the hill and drag it down, how to start automating the cleaning and disinfecting of every vehicle, private and public. Like, there's a lot of people that have putrid cars. I've been in a few, and I don't always keep my car sparkling clean, but that's going to create another break wall between the virus if we can get it out of our transport network. That's vitally important that lots of people can start to theorize how we do that. And here, number 5, comparing the corona pandemic versus celestial sun catastrophe. We're gonna overcome coronavirus, but as it's in the world, it's possibly going to have spits and spurts here and there if we get slack on how we're working with hygiene, personal hygiene and group hygiene in hospitals and aged care facilities and restaurants. We have to get better at this, but the Earth catastrophe cycle, in 1859 there was this huge solar flare that magnetized the Earth, hit the Earth. We only had telegraph lines with Morse code at the time, and created so much electrical induction into that system that it caught fire, and there was fires everywhere. If we had the same event now, lots of our power networks would go down. But the thing about recent evidence is starting to show that it might have been what triggered the magnetic wandering of the North and South Pole. Now they've been speeding up in recent times, which leads some scientists to predict that we've gone over the equatorial line of the galaxy that happens in some 12 and 25,000 year cycle, and that opens us up to electro forces that could send a surge of energy to our sun. And if it receives a surge of energy, then, and it looks as if it is, because evidence looking at different gas giants in our solar system, they're changing quite dramatically in recent years. But if it does send a burst of energy to us, and the magnetic north and south poles either move to another position on the planet because it's been magnetically charged by the charged particles that hit us from the sun, or they flip completely from north to south, or there's a solar micronova, which is an even bigger charge that sends off large parts of the crust towards us, if it's directed at us, that could potentially create asteroids and knock our satellites out of orbit, send the oceans washing over the planet, that would mean earthquakes, volcanoes, everything wiped out. So because this is disrupted our societal flow beyond measure, we should take this time to think about things that we deem impossible, largely because it's higher order energies, it's the energies of the gods essentially, but we have mythological and archaeological evidence that it has happened in cyclical patterns. So now should be the time that we utilize the coronavirus to put more time on our survival line. So let's think about this carefully, and there is solutions to all of them. Absolutely, we can solve any of those challenges. We just need to also be going underground and into space very precisely and carefully, turn ourselves into like a mycelium, so we have underground civilizations that then repopulate the surface very quickly, or we get so good with technology that we can actually divert that energy in space away from our star or after our star to different areas of our solar system, so that we don't go through that in the first place. But we have to think about it. Now's a good time. So let's end poverty with global whole system change. Let's clean the world. Let's complete the Sustainable Development Goals. Right now, because of this social disruption and this economic disruption, we can really start to imagine at scale how we can better manage the manipulation of matter with energy to create what is necessary anywhere on the planet with local resources mostly, but also then transitioning, let's finish the Belt and Road Initiative, let's start building underground city networks. There's so many new technologies that are available, and so many hidden technologies behind paywalls and private industry. Let's open up those, let's just open up that information carefully and consistently over the next few months as this coronavirus thing happens and as we get on top of it. But let's end poverty without relapse. Let's make sure that everyone in Asia and Africa, even like the so-called Western first world countries have poverty in them. Let's get rid of it all. Let's have a world vote, ask people what they actually want in their lives and what they would do in their lives if they didn't have to earn money first. Like if that step of earning money before you get what you want, if that was removed, even if we just do it in a simulation, like we get the Sims game, get them to develop a concept for the Sims 5, and half of it is if money continues, but it has to get to the scale where we can afford to build 3 or 4 times the size of civilization that we have now, or we have a second, so alpha and beta. The other option is how fast can we do it, and in what ways and dimensions can we do it if money's not the method of transaction. Like if we just quantify what resources we possibly have, what technologies we have, how long each of those take, the urgency and the importance of each article, and then using machine learning algorithms to simulate many varieties, we'll come up with some divine possibilities. So responsible civilization, green eco-cities, underground cities, and going to space. So I've pretty much covered all of that. So if you want to know more about aura of intelligence, there's a couple of presentations here from last year. I did 2019. A very dodgy one before I got any lights here that I did on Monday. I was inspired by Code 2020, QODE 2020. If you want to go look at some of the presentations, I recommend that you do if you've got 7 to 14 hours, because there's a lot of content on there. The live streams will be available on repeat for another 3 or 4 days. That's QODE. And then my other channel, Choose Infinity. A few years ago I was looking at the idea of gamifying democracy and how we can supercharge a morally virtuous participation in governance. And now that this social proximity stuff and self-isolation is happening, we can really start to build simulations of all of these sacred places and understand our democracies and our governance structures, no matter where we are and what they are, so that we can compare. You imagine, like we've got Australia's democracy, let's compare that to India's democracy and the United States and UK. Let's look at those 4 and say Australia's got a population of about 24, 25 million, UK, I'm not sure, maybe 50 or 70 million, India 1.34 billion, America 300, 400 million, something like that. If those different structures were overlaid onto each other, and citizens from, let's say Australia's the smallest one, we have citizens that simulate democracy as if they were the politicians that exist here, the same size and structure that we already have. Then even more citizens simulate as if the UK governance structure was here, or the US government structure was here, so that's more people. And then if we simulate what India's governance structure would be here, then that's like, there's so many more people participating, and we can kind of find through simulating out from those decisions what we might learn, but focusing on morally virtuous participation. So there's more information here about aura examples. I don't have a computer fast enough now. I left that in India last year, so I can't do any more aura development at the present moment until I get a faster computer or access to some collaborators, open source sort of stuff. yeah, I can't run any machine learning algorithms. But there's also the Aura Affinity store. I've been trying to set up a store to make some money because I got no money. I'm on New Start. I'm in Yeronga in a garage, like with some living at a cousin's place. That didn't work. Like with everything that's been going on, I haven't been able to get in and granularly focus on building an income that's successful. So yeah, I have no money to start a company. I have dozens of business concepts that I've set up over the last 5 years, but have never actually turned any into a business. I wish to be a catalyst. I don't want to run it. I just want to catalyze a global association for joyful, responsible abundance on Earth, because I understand completely that we need to create good, wholesome, generous, loving data sets to train the extended intelligence that goes towards general super intelligence and general intelligence and super intelligence. Because if we train it on data like what we have with Twitter and Facebook and these social networks, there's too many trolls, and because people were learning about non-locality and they were taking greater risks than they would if they were really in person, and also dealing with all of the historic stress and fear from all of the wars in our past. So that ego of non-locality and shade and darkness is in the internet, and if we train these super intelligences on that data, it will be bad, and it's more likely to have the pessimistic dystopian outcome. Whereas if we create new data sets such as Global Association for Joyful Responsible Abundance on Earth, that's encouraging people to put forward their best selves, choose their values and virtues as what they would prefer to live and prefer to act as, because often life gets in the way and we have these high self-standards that we wish to uphold, but we've had so many triggers set from the past that prevent us from actually living what we wish and what we prefer. So if we could create these AIs, these extended intelligences of ourselves, like higher minds in auras that come through our internet of many things and help us to disable the triggers that make us not our best selves and empower triggers that bring out and coach us into our self-defined best selves, we will save the world. Yeah, I'm going to cut it there at 33 minutes.